Welcome back to the channel. We're back with another commander deck profile today with one of the new PlayStation commanders, Jin Sakai, Ghost of Tsushima. For one, a white, a blue, and a black, you get a legendary creature, Human Samurai 2/4, where whenever Jin Sakai deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, and whenever creature you control attacks a player alone, so if you're attacking all 3 players, you do it to 3 different creatures. Each one of them could get either double strike or unblockable, both of which are really cool abilities, playing into the flavor of Ghost of Tsushima. This is probably the card I'm most looking forward to from the PlayStation Commanders. Really hoping to include one of those Ghost of Yote references for maybe the secret card that you're going to be getting for that one. But we'll see when it comes out. Overall, a lot of fun cards, a lot of stuff that'll, when you deal combat damage to a player, get you some type of effect, maybe some draw power, maybe having your opponent's life total, maybe, just winning you the game. Nothing that just says win the game, but when you deal enough damage, that'll win you the game. But that's just the general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. Starting us off, we have Arcane Signet for a little bit of mana. We are a 4-color commander, so we want to make sure we get that mana when we could. By Nadasa, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So if we're attaching 3 different opponents, 3 different creatures, all of which we're giving double strike, that's potentially 6 cards we're drawing right there. And you also have creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able during your opponent's turn. This way they don't have any blockers up, so you can attack them freely. Brotherhood Regalia, in order to give our equipped creature Ward 2 and indestructible, unblockable. This way we can make sure that we can deal that damage to their face. We don't have to give them unblockable if we already have other ways to make them unblockable. Buster Sword, another effect that we could get when dealing damage to our opponent. Who would have guessed? Playing Ghost of Tsushima, you get a whole bunch of swords. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, cast a spell from your hand for free, equal to damage. Dealing that damage twice, that's 2 cards you're going to cast for free. Potentially up to 5 mana. I mean, everything we looked at already is 5 mana. Excalibur, Sword of Eden, giving your equipped creature a +10/+0 on Vigilance, meaning so we can attack a little bit more freely, making sure we set those blockers up. Also, if we're giving our creature that double strike, that'll help us out a whole bunch there as well, potentially giving us enough for commander damage with Jin Sakai. Maybe, they can block 12 damage without having their creature get removed. Like to see both those things. Genji Glove, maybe we already have the creature we want to have get unblockable with Jin Sakai. Now we give a double strike with this, taking you extra combat phase with that creature, dealing extra instances of combat damage with those creatures. That's even more damage there with binding that, even more draw power with binding Dasa, more like having your opponent's life total. All those when you deal damage effects, helping you stack up. Grafted Exoskeleton, equipped creatures +2/+2 and has Infect. Already putting our opponent at 8 Infect if we just put this on Jin Sakai, giving him that double strike. Just a good stat boost. Good to also potentially toxic out our opponents with this. Not toxic out. Infect? Poison? I don't know. Lightning Grease. We want to make sure creatures can attack the turn they come in. Giving them haste with some boots helps us do just that. Because we need all of our creatures to be attacking different players, so, helps us out. Metro Coat for a little bit of protection for our commander. Put this right on him, give him that indestructible, making so he can keep getting that effect. Quodius Spike? Quick Creature's Death Touch, super helpful, especially when we're getting that double strike, because it's essentially first strike plus Death Touch. Your opponent has to block with 3 things at that point, all of which are going to get removed because of Death Touch. And then whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. So, one instance, deal half. Another instance of damage, it's half of the half. It's not the other half of their life, unfortunately. Soul Ring for some additional mana. Swiftfoot Boots for another instance of Lightning Greaves. Sword of Feast of Famine, another card that'll give us that benefit when we're dealing that damage. Equipped creature deals combat damage to a player. That player discards a card. You untap all your lands, getting to tap them again. Making our opponents discard 2, giving that protection as well on top of that, making so we could deal that damage in the first place. All the swords basically do some type of protection, so we're just going to skip over that part. But this one, Sword of Fire and Ice, whenever a creature deals combat damage to a player, deal 2 damage to any target and draw a card, drawing 2 cards. With that double strike that you're getting, dealing 4 damage to any target or 2 damage to 2 different targets. We like to see all those types of things. Sword of Fortune Frontier, +2/+2 protection from red and green. I'm going to skip over it, and there I go, not skipping over it. Whoops. But you basically get to exile the top 4 of your not your graveyard, your deck, and then you get to play 2 additional lands this turn, especially in the colors that we're in. That's going to be super helpful for this deck. Sword of Heart and Home, equip creature deals combat damage to player, blink a creature, and get a basic land from your library. Do that twice. That's a really good effect. We're not really using the blink, it's more so the ramp that we're looking for from that. Talisman Dominance, Talisman of Hierarchy, Talisman of Progress, all of which really reflect the story of Ghost of Tsushima. Like start, no, not Talisman Dominance so much. A little bit. I mean, if you're coming from it's not really, I don't know how to describe it. You had to play the game yourself. Umezawa's Jite, giving our creature some additional stats. We get 4 charge counters on our creature from dealing damage twice. Remove those charge counters, give them +8/+8. You know, it's potentially enough to deal enough commander damage. Nope, that's only 20. And then Wayfarer's Vow for some extra mana. Sorry, it's been a couple weeks since I recorded. I'm forgetting how to read. Archpriest of Shadows, another creature, our first creature that wants to deal some damage to our opponent. This way get some effects off, specifically returning some creatures from our graveyard? Yep, from our graveyard to the battlefield. This way they just come back to attack again. We get 2 instances of that if we get to give it double strike. And that touch on top of that doesn't hurt it either. Dimir Cutpurse, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card, you draw a card. Drawing 2, potentially making our opponent discard 2, potentially making them discard 4 if we have that sword on them. Elegy Acolyte, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Once again, dealing damage to 3 different players. That's 6 different instances of life gain. And probably something will die at some point. Maybe you'll get a robot. That's in the story, right? Enduring Curiosity. Another instance, same as Bynadasa. Deal combat damage, draw some cards. Esper Sentinel. We have a lot of ways to buff up some stats. Esper Sentinel just helps us out with that draw power when we get that. Fallen Shinobi. It's flavorful. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library. You may cast those cards for free. So, getting 4 free cards off the top of our opponent's decks, I'd say that's a pretty good deal. Grim Hireling. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create 2 treasures. That's 4 treasures, and doesn't necessarily have to be this creature, so maybe we're getting 12 treasures. Malcolm, Alluring a Scoundrel. Flash, flying, deal combat damage to a player, put a charge counter on it. We're giving it double strike, so hopefully we'll be able to get 2 charge counters on it. This way, don't take 2 turns rather than the 4 that it'll normally take to get to its secondary ability. Where if there are 4 more course counters on this card, it may cast the discarded card without paying its mana cost from its draw and discard ability. Metamide Ageless, giving it double strike, gives us potentially 2 extra turns. And who doesn't want to take extra turns? The person who doesn't want to take extra turns, that too. Nashi, Moon Sage of Scion, another way to steal some of our opponent's stuff. We're not doing it a lot, but we're doing it enough where this helps us out, where we could get some free stuff and dealing damage to our opponent. That's what we like to do. Rev Tide Extractor. Whenever you attack target creature you control gains death touch till end of turn. This way you can get over our problematic opponent. And whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, we like to see it. Create those treasure tokens. And you can also get some free stuff off the top of your opponent's deck. It's not free, but it's basically free because you're getting those treasure tokens. Shadow Mage Infiltrator has fear, so it's basically unblockable. Deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We're going to draw a lot of cards with this deck. Silent Blade Oni. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, look at a player's hand, cast a spell for free from there. I mean, your opponent's going to have some good stuff in their hand. Why don't we take it as well? Squall Seed Mercenary. So as soon as I saw Jin Sakai, I was just like, is this just an upgraded Squall? Which, the stats are a little bit worse, but it gives double strike to 3 different creatures rather than just 1. You do have the additional color on there. And Squall gets you some recursion rather than just some draw power. So it's debatable which is stronger, I'd say. Starwinder for that additional draw power. Cecil Harvey, who is really Timna, giving you that extra draw power because we're dealing combat damage to each player. Unstoppable Slasher. probably my favorite card in this deck. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they lose half their life. Same as, what was it? I forgot the name of the card. Not, it wasn't one of the swords. It was... Anyway, we're dealing half their life. But then we're also dealing another half. So we're basically dealing 75% of their life total. Yep, no planeswalkers. So on to the second half of the deck. For our enchantments, we have Aqueous Form. In order to make our creatures unblockable, this way we get that double strike instead of just having to make them unblockable. Coastal Piracy, whenever a creature deals combat damage, draw a card, deal it twice, deal it to each opponent, draw 6 every turn. In theory, you could have this as a Dass's Oracle deck or like a Laboratory Mania deck if you just like run a whole bunch of these effects. We're not going for that though. Curiosity, another way to draw his cards. Except it's only one creature, right, in all of them. Duelist Heritage. If we don't have Jin Sakai on the board, we do still want some double strikes, so helps us do just that. Imposter Syndrome. Whenever another non-token creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's not legendary. Maybe we just get all unstoppable slashers. Maybe we get a whole bunch of Jin Sakai. Maybe a whole bunch of like just Grim Hirelings, and we get all those treasure tokens to do whatever we want. All this is going to be super fun. Reconnaissance Mission. Whenever a creature control deals combat damage to a player, you guessed it, you get to draw some cards. Then for our instance, we have Okroma's Will to make sure we get some Double Strike, maybe some Indestructible, some Lifelink, all stuff we like to see. Offer You Can't Refuse for a counterspell, Arcane Denial for a counterspell for a counterspell, Cyclonic Rift for pseudo board wipe, Dark Ritual for that extra mana because we're going to need it at some point, Dovin's Veto for a counterspell, Flawless Maneuver for that protection, Generous Gift for some removal, Mana Drain for some another counterspell, Pent Exile for some removal, Sword Splash for some removal, Void Rend for another source of removal, you guessed it. And then sorcerers, we have Austere Command for a board wipe, Damn for a board wipe, Farewell for a board wipe, Reanimate because, when we board wipe, we want to make sure we get some stuff back. Supreme Verdict for another board wipe, and Toxic Deluge for our final board wipe. Because there will be certain times where you have your boots and your Jin Sakai in the command zone, you board wipe your opponent, you just bring Jin Sakai out, and you start swinging and drawing those cards. But overall, I'd say this is going to be a really fun commander. Like I said, he's kind of like an upgrade Squall, but you do have access to 3 colors rather than just the 2, especially with having blue in this deck. I'd say this is definitely an upgrade, but let me know your thoughts on this commander down there in the comment section, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.